Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a crossover episode between The Brothers Take and Last Call Gaming. We had to come back, do it again.
Yeah, boy.
I am Kris. I am joined by my brother, Eric.
Hello.
And we're joined by Mr. Craig Perales from Last Call Gaming.
Yo.
And
Nice
we
to have
are
you back
in the room for another Spoilercast. Last time we had Craig on, we were talking Final Fantasy 16. We did a two-parter for that. Make sure to go back and check both out. One of them's on our channel. The other one's on their channel. Make sure you subscribe to both. But this time, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man 2. Holy fucking shit. And we can go full spoilers for this. So once the intro kicks in, that's it. That's your final spoiler warning. And then we're talking Spider-Man 2. If you just want to hear a overall impressions that are non-spoiler, go check out Last Call Gaming's last episode. It's got a Lies of P thumbnail and a bit of Spider-Man on there. Listen to that. You'll get Craig's overall impressions that are non-spoiler. And you can check out mine and Eric's non-spoiler impressions in the first impressions video that we did. You'll see a Spider-Man thumbnail on that one. So go listen to those if you're here for like non-spoiler impressions, but this is going to be a full spoiler. This is a Spidercast, man. It's full spoilers.
Ooh.
This is here we go. This is going to be it. And make sure that you are subscribed to both podcasts. Give this video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe. Show your support. Click the notification bell. All that stuff. If you guys, this was on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media. We will link the social medias for both podcasts in the description. Make sure you are following both. But without any further ado, let's get swinging. Okay, just to start us off, and I think to keep us on track, I will end up doing like character arcs, right? I like throw out characters, and because that helps us talk about their entire journey over the course of the game. But just to start us off, now that we don't have to dance around it, Craig, I'm going to come to you first. What did you think of the opening of this fucking game?
Dude, the opening of this game was right off the bat just blew my mind. And I was texting you guys the other day. I was like, I wish I recently just played 1 in Miles Morales just so I could have eased into it, because 2 just starts off with such a banger. It just, you're in this world, you're going. It was a great introduction to both the characters. For a game that I was highly anticipating. You know, you're always kind of worried about how some of these games are going to start, you know, especially eventually how they're going to end. But Spider-Man 2 started off fantastic. And the moment you're just in this world, I was instantly just like, I'm like, am I going to have a hard time remembering the combat controls, the swinging around town? The moment you're just in there playing, it just instantly felt familiar and it was fantastic. So off the bat, I was instantly impressed. And watching it being a PS5 exclusive, I was glad that Insomniac could just take full advantage of the hardware with how beautiful it looks and how fast-paced the game is.
Dude, it's that shot, right? It's the shot where Miles gets thrown halfway across the city by Sandman and just swings right back into action. And it's like, how did they even do that?
It was like a Final Fantasy 16 fight. Speaking of Final Fantasy, it was like playing a big boss battle. I was like, oh my goodness.
Fucking crazy. Eric, what did you think of the opening of the game?
Because I think with the first game, I couldn't really get into it. There was something about the start, it just didn't click with me. This, I was instantaneously engrossed. I like, what a way to do Sandman as like the first villain. Massive, big, bombastic. You have this great fucking like I think at one point Spider-Man has to like run through a building as things getting destroyed, and you're like hopping over tables, like sliding on things. Like you said, Miles gets thrown, then swings back in, and then the fact that you swap between the two heroes, like, it was a great way of introducing the characters, and Sandman was a great villain to make sure that both Spider-Men were needed for this situation, because he was fucking huge. He was destroying the whole city. Like, he brought the beach to town. Like, I mean, that's what he did.
And I think anything smaller, right? Like if it had been, say, like the Rhino or something again, you know, any one of the Spider-Men could take him on their own. It wouldn't be a case of like, oh no, you need to stop what you're doing and come with me right now. Like, this is, you know, stop teaching class. This is fucked up. You know, the Sandman is such a big threat, like massive. And like the city is in danger, and this could have been a final, you know, this could have been the climax to another game, you know.
But I thought it was cool that Yeah, I thought it was cool that it starts off with them in the school and you're kind of getting to know Peter and you're getting to see what Miles are kind of cool. You're like, all right, let's see what they're going to be doing in New York. How are their lives been over the last year and a half? And then out of nowhere, they both, they kind of he gets the spider sense going and they're like, all right, let's get it. And then, dude, and then you're instantly swinging and then you're just seeing this nonsense that looks, 2 miles away, but you're going so fast that you're approaching it so quickly. And then you're just getting to this big, huge, like kaiju looking Sandman type monster, which was, like you said, it was cool because it was a nice introduction to showing like how the back and forth is going to work between fighting with the two different characters, how Miles' abilities kind of has like the Venom blast and the electricity, and then Spider-Man's kind of using, in the beginning, does he still have the 4 arms right up?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
okay, yeah. So it was really kind of cool seeing that his abilities was kind of like the tech suit, and then his were kind of like the Venom, and then how they were going to be bouncing around. And yeah, who else? It couldn't have been any better than starting off with this big, huge Sandman battle, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, I think they've put themselves in a difficult corner because obviously, and like with the way this game ends, but I mean, there was always gonna be another one, right? Everyone knew that there's gonna be a Spider-Man 3, and I can't wait for it. But it's like, how the hell are you gonna like top that intro? I thought like you guys have put yourselves in a corner here. I don't know what you're gonna do. I mean, maybe take out Hydro Man, but that might feel too similar.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, Hydro Man could have been one of the only other people that could have done something along those lines. I mean, maybe
massive,
if you rip off another like ingrown symbiote or something like that, if they go down that route again. Sure. But yeah, I mean, Sandman really was just a perfect opening.
Apparently, I listened to a bunch of the Spoilercasts with Brian Intihar. He's the creative director from Insomniac, just to get like some insights from him, because it's always great to, because he can give you real insider information into why they made certain choices and stuff. And for this game, he said like the first choice in terms of talking about Spider-Man 2 was he was like, we're going to do Sandman. That was like, as soon as they finished Spider-Man 2018, he was like, we're going to do Sandman in the next game. And like, it's like, that's not even like a big story point. That's just a big tech spectacle, really. Like, that's all that is.
Yeah, because I wonder if they could have even been able to do Sandman on like the PS4 and the way they were able to do it on the PS5. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to say the technology wasn't there, but it's like we wouldn't have done him justice. So let's wait until, Miles Morales is kind of, you can call it 1.5, but like when we have it on the 2 and it's fully next gen, let's make sure we take advantage and show everybody that this game's going to be a banger.
And it definitely, I think this game feels next gen.
Yeah, 100%.
Like just the speed at which you can move around the city.
And how populated that city is.
Yeah, and it's never loading. Like, and even like, did you guys ever do? Because obviously traversal is so fun. Did you guys ever actually use fast travel?
I did when I started doing collectibles. Like when I started looking for the spider bots and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm not. I mean, but in the beginning, I was like, I can make it there in about 2 minutes. Like I'll do it. But I used it, and the fast travel alone is insane. Like you're able to just click and you're boom, you're there.
And the way it zooms into the map and then turns it into the city, it was like, wow. Like, I think it's just technically so impressive, this game.
I want to see like Rockstar do something like that with like GTA in the future. Like if we can see how big Spider-Man's populated and how fast you can move, it'd be really interesting to see what Rockstar can do with something along those lines.
I would love to see, not to jump off Spider-Man for too long, but like, because I was reminded of like how great like the Arkham games were, right? And they kind of set them, like the Spider-Man as we have it now does have a lot to thank, the Arkham games for, even though it's doing its own thing. But now it's like, man, what if they made like a next gen Arkham game with a populated Gotham? Because we never got that. We always got like the great B Batman experience and all that, but we never got a populated Gotham outside of, I know, like the recent Gotham Knights, but that's not being Batman, in that world. You know what I mean? So
they raised the bar for sure.
They've absolutely,
or at least set the bar.
They've set the bar really high. Oh my god. One thing I wanted to talk about before we get into our 2 Spider-Men is, and we've mentioned Sandman. He's one of the villains, and when you catch him, he's actually quite sympathetic as a villain. And I noticed they seem to do that with a lot of the villains in this game, right? So without getting into like the main guys like Kraven or Venom, which we're absolutely going to talk about, but like the other villains throughout the game who seem to be going through a process of rehabilitation, whether it's, you know, Tombstone, for example, working at Coney Island, and
That was hilarious.
you know what I mean, or Mysterio trying to have an actual business, an enterprise or whatever. Like what did you guys think of the way the villains were utilized in this game? Eric, give me your thoughts.
I thought, like Mysterio was pretty much just we need to do some side content, so that's fine. And the kind of the way it played out was, I thought, quite nice. I preferred Tombstone's
Right.
kind of thing, because with Tombstone's not really a super villain. Like, I mean, I know he's impenetrable and he can't really die or anything, but he's not going to destroy the city. He's not going to hold it hostage or anything like that. So I thought showing him going through rehabilitation kind of really sets that point home of why, like, the point of a prison and why the heroes never kill their enemies. They always send them to prison because that's the idea. That's the point. So this game, Spider-Man 2, is kind of hitting that point home of why these heroes never kill the villains. Is because that's what they're wanting. They're wanting the rehabilitation. They're wanting them to work at Coney Island or be able to, like, make a business to help people and stuff like that. So I thought that was really nice to do that with some of the villains. Now, there's one particular villain in this which I thought was awesome, and there's no rehabilitating that person, but everyone else I thought that he was really cool.
Which villain was that? Or is that the
Flame
flame side quest?
We'll get there.
Right, we'll
That's
get
what I
there.
thought you were talking about. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
That fucking quest is so good. Craig, what did you think about the way a lot of the villains were handled in this game? In that they were trying to humanize them and rehabilitate them. Even like Martin Lee, they do it with him as well.
I thought it's kind of mainly, I think it played off the back of every time you're involved with some of these guys, especially I think it was the Mysterio ones, where the Spider-Man are kind of shouting out loud, like, I can still help you. You know, I don't want to hurt you. So it's kind of like the whole time these guys are fighting them, they're still shouting, like, I don't want to battle you. Like, let's work through this together. So it wasn't even that the guys were so much that they wanted to be rehabilitated. It's that the Spider-Man throughout was constantly still saying, you know, let me help you. You know, let me be there for you. You know, I'm not your enemy by any means, but you are breaking the law. One of the things I just wasn't getting is, how long were Mysterio and Tombstone in jail for them to be out and about in public? Like, it seemed like Lee is in prison for the rest of his life, and then Tombstone gets a mechanic job in Coney Island. It's like, how much time did he do? How much, like, Mysterio, I'd imagine, especially with all that tech, would have been in prison for a decade. But I was just curious. I'm like, how fast? What's the turnaround with these guys? Because it seemed like they're both just out living normal lives with, like, I think he mentions his probation officer or something once, but I was like, did you even do 2 years?
I never even thought of that until you said it, and it's
because Tombstone's
because I understand
Spider-Man 1, and it's only been 2 years. I'm like, how long were you in prison for?
Yeah, it's like you should definitely have a longer sentence.
So I was kind of thinking about that. I'm like, I have no problem with you doing it, but I'd imagine that the whole time they're out there, they're under like 2 guards are watching them or something like that, not just some random dude working with kids on bumper cars.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, like, I wouldn't want that guy touching me, but
and he's already like it was. Look, it was a cool moment to see it, but I absolutely
fantastic.
See
One of the best moments in the game,
because it's like Tombstone is impenetrable too. Like he he is so dangerous, and if he decides to turn on the public, like, I definitely would have like put him working
in construction or something.
Yeah, in like a factory or something. Yeah, away from the public first for a while, just to see how he gets on. You know, run him through a few programs.
So I was just kind of confused. I'm like, well, you know, some people are locked up forever, but some people are out, which is cool. I mean, that's obviously the goal. They want to rehabilitate them, and I think that's one of the ways they could show it with kind of these lesser degree villains, right? You're not going to put Lee out there a year later with everything he did, but I thought it was cool that they used Tombstone and they used Mysterio, and those happen to be really fun parts of the game.
Yeah, I think as well it drove home what I think is the theme of the game, which is a second chance. Definitely. And it's like, not only do the villains deserve a second chance, there's like the characters throughout, and even at points, the heroes, you know, need to like redeem themselves or ask for a second chance or ask to be forgiven for some of the things they do throughout the game as well. So I really think like a Spider-Man 2, there's 2 Spider-Men. It's Insomniac's second chance at making a big game like this, but it's also a second chance is like the theme of the game. Harry gets a second chance. He says it throughout the game. You know, I got a second chance. I want to give it to other people. We want to heal the world. And so I just think they they built the game around that theme in a beautiful way that really works. And then of course they bring in a character like Kraven to just kick that in the ass and be like, oh, you all wanted a second chance? Well, I'm dying. I don't have a second chance. So
I want my last chance.
yeah, I'm on my last chance. I want my last hunt, and you're all on your last chance with me, you know? What do you think of Kraven, Craig?
When you first see the trailer that was X amount of months ago, I thought it was cool. I'm like, okay, let's not make it somebody, magical or anybody that has a weird superpower like Kraven in the comics and in old cartoons and stuff like that. Like Kraven's a really cool character. And when you watch that trailer and he kills the one dude in the jungle, and then they show him, he's like, well, what about, he's like, I think we need to change where we're hunting, the hunting grounds. And it pans out and it's like Black Cat, Scorpion, Vulture. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. They're going to bring in Kraven to start hunting everybody. And I was kind of curious of where they explain some things and they don't explain some other things. I don't know how deep we want to get into it right off the bat, but like the super strength was curious of like when he gets in a fight with Scorpion and Scorpion stabs him and it doesn't affect them. Like they didn't really explain why. I understand he's a super strong human, but under no circumstances, I don't think I read anything that was like giving him any type of beyond, power from Venom. I like that he was bringing in this army. My whole thing is though, it almost felt like a weird version of like Bane, like shutting off Gotham. Like where did this militia come from? It's like he didn't bring in like an army. It felt like he brought in the whole goddamn country in this thing with all these helicopters and all that stuff. So on one end, I thought Kraven was a really cool villain to introduce to like go like who has the prowess to hunt a Spider-Man and these other guys. But on the other hand, I think they kind of made it, I don't want to say campy by any means, but made it kind of a bigger spectacle than it should have been. I would have liked it if it was more secret, hidden behind the darts. You don't know he's coming. Where in this point, you're like, oh, everywhere I go, here's this big army, and Kraven never happens to be there, except for these little moments here and there. But that's my first thoughts of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and I could be wrong, I think there is a moment where you're investigating. You know when you meet Peter has to like sneak in amongst all of his goons having a party or something in this mansion.
Oh, with the tiger.
and you come across the tiger, right? Dima, is that her name?
Yeah.
And if you look around in that room, I believe there's like a weird red potion that you find. And he
said he's like, oh, maybe that's how he's so strong. But is that making him immune to venom and poisons and all that other kind of stuff?
I think it is.
Okay.
But they
again, they don't explain how he's making it.
They don't. They don't.
Here it is.
And I don't know if it's like, is there maybe some run in the comic where that's a thing? And if you know that, you know that. I don't know. I have no idea. I always just thought Kraven was just this like super strong, super talented dude. Don't mess with him.
Like almost like a Batman, like peak athlete, and then it's faster than normal. But yeah, I don't remember.
But I've seen some weird versions of it. Like I remember, like in the Spectacular Spider-Man, they did make him into basically a lion man, and it was like okay. So I don't know. There must be different renditions of Kraven. And
sure, what I was getting at is like they just didn't explain what that potion was, what it was derived from, what like a couple of times it's like, oh, they're going after this rare plant in this one spot. It's like I just wanted to know what exactly that concoction was. Like it would have been cool if they're like, oh, it's got a little bit of rhino DNA in it, it's got a little bit of scorpion DNA in it, like this thing that's even though he's dying is like potentially keeping him alive by making him stronger bit by bit, even though he's decaying at the same time. Something like that, just to explain why he's able to do it would have been cool. But nonetheless, it wasn't a deal breaker by any means. He's a really intimidating villain that was really cool to listen to and watch.
He's scary as fuck.
As fuck.
I wouldn't mess with Kraven.
Hell no.
Eric, what did you think of Kraven? Now you don't have to dance around it at all.
Yeah, don't dance around it. He has the most intense eyes. Fuck me. When like it's Mary Jane. Mary Jane is trying to get Kirk Connors out of his
the cage.
And then he walks in and he's just stared at her and he's talking and shit. Like there's just like fucking hell, that man looks psychotic.
Yeah.
But I actually thought at first when Scorpion stabbed him in the side, I thought they were doing a thing. I think hunters do it sometimes where they inject themselves with the venom to make themselves immune. I thought that's what he was doing at first, which I thought would have made sense.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Now, that's probably not what it was. Probably was the potion thing. But at first, that's what I thought it was. I thought that moment was awesome. But as the game is going on, yeah, Craig, where the fuck did he get all those troops?
Dude,
Like-
and where's the rest of anybody to fight
Yeah.
back? It's like, what? Two
Yeah,
Spider-Man in all of New York?
How many derelict buildings are in New York? Like, I'm sure there's a few, but like this is like every second building just seems to be owned by him and stuff. And I do wish there was sort of like the stalker mechanic from like Resident Evil 2, where because he's a hunter, and if he's gonna be turning his attention eventually on Spider-Man, if at random moment, because he doesn't ever hunt, he cheats the whole time.
Yeah.
He actually keeps using all of his troops to wear down his prey, and then he kills them and then says, "You're weak." They're not fucking weak. You just made them tired.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
if
I
he
agree.
actually, like, if you're swinging around and then he randomly shoots you with a fucking stun gun, you fall, and then you have to try fight him off. I thought that, or if they did that with Venom, but we'll get to that later. But either way, a mechanic like that, I thought would have been really cool.
Yeah,
But
just
other-
that more hunting things would have made more sense, and it was just kind of you get a couple battles with them, and I'm like, where's because the whole when you're watching the trailers, the whole thing is like, I'm gonna get you, and even the beginning when he kills that one dude, it's like, I've been stalking you for hours, and it's like, well, where was any of that? So he was cool that they used him. I was saying it in the review that I did, the light review. I'm like, there's just a couple things I don't think they went in the right direction with some of these characters, and Kraven in that direction was one of them. They took out the stockiness, Wolverine style, feral version of him. That made him this like militia leader that everyone's weaker, but it's like, yeah, you've got a fucking Hulk potion. Who's stronger than you?
Yeah. Eric, you've pointed out something that now I didn't realize I wanted, and now I do want it. So now I hate the game. No, I'm joking. But if the Kraven boss fight had been basically the end from Metal Gear Solid, but like across New York, where it's like you don't know where he is and you're looking for him, but he is hunting you at the same time. That actually sounds sick. But I suppose what we really got for the last fight with him was like Predator, basically. He did the whole, strip down. He had a flame torch. He was like, "Come on, kill me!" As he took on Venom. So yeah, it became more like a Arnie Predator type thing, burly boxer kind of fight rather than a let's hunt each other fight.
But I thought his performance was the actor's performance was class.
Incredible.
Yeah. Top shelf.
Incredible. I thought Kraven was the most intimidating villain in the game, bar one sequence, which we will talk about soon.
Well,
which is
did
probably
you guys
my
do
favorite sequence in the game.
Did you guys do all the Kraven missions, like, and start learning about like the family and all that stuff?
Yeah.
And
I actually thought that was going to end with fight one of them. I thought like when you do all the bases, then it was going to be, one of his children is here and you got to fight them. So I was surprised that it didn't. I was surprised it didn't end that way.
What about?
Really like the ending of it. I really like how the whole thing unfolds because it is pointing you towards that. It is pointing you towards that, like, you got to fight at least one of them.
Yeah.
And I even thought to myself that it was actually going to be like a DLC thing.
That would have been
like
cool.
they were teasing it. And then the way it just kind of ends in that, because his family is so irredeemable in the way they think, they all just like killed each other.
Yeah, so did any of them survive, or are they all dead?
They're all dead. They all
as far as I remember that conversation, he's like, we were getting ready for him to come and invade, but like I guess they wiped each other out. And then you finish, right. I forget if it was the bases or the flying missions, but and then you find out that him and Chameleon are like half brothers or brothers or something like that.
Oh man.
I don't remember that at all in the comics, and maybe they were, but I was
that is
he's
true.
He's like, don't worry, brother, I'll finish what you couldn't. I'm like, but haven't you already fought Spider-Man and lost? So what are you gonna do more? I thought that was a really cool twist. Like, cool, Chameleon's now potential villain for 3.
The Chameleon is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. I don't know why. He's, he doesn't have a lot going for him in terms of powers or abilities or anything like that. But I just love the idea of the character. And I think, because I remember watching like the 90s cartoons.
Yeah.
And he's one of the villains that stood out to me, as well as like the Hobgoblin was one that stood out to me. And so like, yeah, there were certain villains from Spider-Man. Hydro Man was another one actually. It was like so like my knowledge of Spider-Man villains when I was younger was like whoever was showing up in the episodes of the 90s cartoons.
Dude, I just rewatched that whole series.
It's actually amazing.
Fantastic.
It's so good.
It's an amazing Spider-Man show.
Yeah, it's so good. And so when I was doing like that Talon mission thing, where I was like, this is fine. It's okay. Of all the side content, it's not the best. The reward for it though was excellent because I was like, no way. I had no idea this was hinting toward like I started to get hints of it later on when they're like, hold on now, this target's dead. I was like, wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
And then they did it with another one. I was like, hold on a second. Could this be someone using their identities? I was like, no way. There's no way this is the Chameleon. And when you find that hidden base with all the masks everywhere and everything, I was like, this is so cool.
Dude, there were so many times I was yelling. I was like, "Oh, dude, that's awesome! This is awesome!" And the Andrew's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I'm like, "You wouldn't get it."
Yeah. You don't get it. You don't understand, man. You don't.
There's
you
so
don't
much
fucking
cool.
get it,
I
man.
was just like, I'm like, yes. No one's around. I'm like, oh, all right.
But there's loads of interesting hints at either what will be in the third game or what will be in DLC of some kind.
Yeah.
Did you know about the and I only know about this from listening to again an interview with the creative director. Did you know about the Nelson Murdoch thing?
Yeah, I was seeing something on Twitter. They're like, are you talking about, did they re-put in the plaque or something on the building?
Right. So for like
Foggy
for the first week of the game, the sign was missing. And
yeah,
then,
something like that. What's that about? What was that about?
well, someone
Right?
asked him. No, someone asked Brian. Is that his name? Brian Interhart. They asked him, "Hey, we noticed that the sign for Murdoch and Nelson is missing. Is there a reason for that, or what's going on?" And he just went, "Stay tuned."
Oh, so they forgot and they had to patch it in?
I don't think so. I think.
I see. Like they're hinting at DLC of like. Okay.
I think we could be playing as Daredevil someday. That's what.
And
that
he would work
be,
too because he's got the
dude.
whip kind of, or the, I don't know what we call that thing, but the cane with the whip thing. He could kind of move just like that.
I would love to fucking play as Daredevil.
That would be
in this world. That would be amazing. Just put like a small DLC with fucking Bullseye and Daredevil. Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
You know what? Do what I was just talking about, the hunting thing, but with Daredevil and Bullseye. That'd be awesome.
Oh my god, yes, do it.
Yeah. And it should be, instead of being like the open world, it should be like he should be locked into like a burrow. It should be like in like Harlem for a mission, and then you got to sneak around and get hunted, and then you go to Brooklyn, and then you go to Hell's Kitchen or something like that. Like you got to tackle these burrows one at a time or something. That'd be dope.
Yeah, and you can use Daredevil's cool like ability where it's like the sonar thing.
Yeah.
Oh my god, because I think Daredevil is one of the coolest Marvel heroes. He unfortunately has a fairly uninteresting rogues gallery as a whole.
Yeah, he kind of ties in with like the Midnight Suns and stuff like that.
Yeah, but he as a character is just amazing. But I suppose there was actually one moment where I thought, could this lead to Daredevil? But it wasn't, and it was a different vigilante character for a side quest that Eric mentioned. That you know what? Let's just fucking talk about it now, and then shortly we'll get into like the main stuff. Let's get some of the side stuff out of the way, right? You do a quest where you're rescuing some firefighters trapped in this building or something, or people trapped in a building. It seems like nothing. Then suddenly it turns into something. You're like, hold on a second. And you come across these cultists and the flame. And then you meet Wraith, who's a vigilante who turns out to be Yuri from the first game. And you're like,
dude,
what?
So
this is fucking crazy. What did you think of that side quest?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, dude! It was one of those moments where I was yelling. I was like, "Yeah!" And what are you talking about? You wouldn't get it. It was cool. Again, I'm trying to remember because it's been so long since I played. Because she's in number 1, right? She's not in Morales. She's in the first one.
That's right. Yeah.
Because she's just like a detective, right? So
yeah.
I was curious because it's been maybe I think 2 years is the difference between them. I forgot if she had any type of like hardcore martial arts type training because it just seemed out of nowhere. Now she's like on a capable level of like a Black Cat or let alone like a Spider-Man.
Right.
I mean, but Wraith as the character is way cool as a side character, and it was cool that Yuri's the one that ends up taking the mantle of Wraith. So, and then once I think she has like a Kusarigama or something like that, with like the hook and the ball. And I'm like, so she was able to whip around and her whole she kind of had like a Punisher attitude. She's like, she's not really gonna kill them per se, but she's like, I don't gotta save them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you
it's
guys,
not
like,
holding back at
yeah,
all.
you're not on my agenda. Like, I'm not the hero here to save everybody in the building. If you want to, do it. So I liked her demeanor. I liked her attitude, and like her whole goal was to like, I'll kill one guy if it saves 50. You know, how many times have you let that slip through your fingers where you didn't kill someone and they've killed another 50? So her whole persona I thought was excellent.
Yeah, and really cool because I don't know of the character Wraith personally. It's not one that I was familiar with. So this was like this is one of those cool moments where Insomniac are now introducing me to a character I didn't know about, and then did the Wikipedia thing and went, oh cool, that is a character from the comics, and oh it is Yuri, and wow, people who played the first one must have been like, oh, when's she gonna turn into Wraith and stuff, So for me it was like a genuine surprise when she took the mask off. I was like, oh my god, I even like forgot about that character. Like I was even like, where's, like, I didn't play this game going, where's Yuri? Because she had a big part in the first one. But as soon as she showed up, I was like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. Yeah, like the cop character, yeah, she's back. And then where the quest went was just so fucking cool.
Bonkers.
That I have a feeling that's the one that will lead to the DLC. I don't think that's gonna be number 3.
Oh, that's DLC for sure.
That's definitely going to be DLC, right? Which is going to be Carnage. Eric, what did you think of the Flame Quest overall?
Flame Quest, right. So that's actually one thing about this game is that they don't really, with most of them, if not all of the side quests, they never waste your time. They always kind of build and end on something. For instance, the Talon Quest, which was stupid and annoying as fuck, but then it ends with Chameleon. Like, that's so fucking cool, right? The Flame one, though, is probably the top notch because it just gets better and better and better. And yes, the introduction of Wraith. I had no idea what Wraith was. I had no clue. I was like, all right, another vigilante takes up the mask of Yuri. I was like, that's fucking awesome. That's awesome, Yuri. I don't know if they're being a bit racist by going, this is Asian, so she has to know martial arts, or you immediately put on a mask and then know martial arts. But either way, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And then I had no clue what a Flame was, so I thought the Flame wasn't just a Spider-Man villain or a Marvel villain that I just never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only really until the very, very, very end of that DLC when he picks up the symbiote and it goes red and he says, I was like, oh, it's Carnage. This was fucking incredible.
Well,
I lost it.
When you meet the guy, who's going by the name The Flame, and she mentions how, this is a guy that she used to try and track down as a cop, and he's a psychopath. He's terrible. He's awful. And I was looking at him. I was going, like, I feel like he's someone. I feel like he's not just made up for this. I was like, he looks like Cletus Cassidy.
I said the same thing, dude.
And I was like, but they're calling him the Flames. I don't get it. And he's a cult. I was like, that's not Cletus Cassidy. He's a serial killer, right? So then they kind of threw me off. Then I was like, the only one it makes sense to me is Cletus Cassidy, but it's also not adding up. So maybe it's not. Maybe there's just a new character that I don't know about. And as soon as it was like, no, it is Cletus Cassidy, I was like, that is so cool that you kind of had me guessing in my head, is it or isn't it? And the fact that then we will get Carnage is going to be incredible. And I do think that having him as a main villain of a DLC is for this series is the best way to deal with this character, because I don't think you should go into a Spider-Man 3 and have Carnage as a side quest. And I also don't think Carnage should team up with anyone. I don't think that's Carnage's MO.
Yeah, and you don't want to repeat the symbiote thing like we just did. That. You don't want the next game to be the same thing, so I might as well stick into the same kind of deal. I was just curious though, DLC, would you still do it like episodic? Would it be like part 1, Night of Carnage, part 2, something like that? You know what I mean? Or like one big block or something.
I'd prefer one big block, I think.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Yeah. But
I mean, I can take it either way, because I mean, it'd be cool to be like, oh, that ended on a cliffhanger. Next month, I got to come back and do it again, because I would. But
the reality is, whatever way they do it, I'm going to play it.
Yeah, for sure.
I am so in on this, But I think I would prefer one just decent block of more story, and to treat Carnage as the epilogue of this story. It's like this is you need to finish off the symbiote story. There's one more symbiote out there. And unfortunately, it's on an absolute psychopath. And he's going to fucking rip this place up. Because, anything I've read of Carnage, he is a nut job.
Oh, yeah.
He's so violent.
Yeah, he's the one you don't want to be tangoing with. Well, and again, like you were saying, how you weren't sure if it was him or not, and he kind of looks like him. And at the end, she's like, "Oh, he goes by all these different aliases." It wouldn't have been weird to think that it wasn't him, because they did it a couple of times of giving new origin stories to different villains, like Venom obviously being one of them. So at the time, I was like, okay, I guess when he said, because he says Carnage before she says his name, Cletus Cassidy. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is just a new guy that they're gonna make Carnage. They're clearly doing that with some people's origins here. But the moment she started rattling them off, it was kind of like a Joker thing. He just has these different aliases, and as soon as you hear Cletus Cassidy, then I was just like, yeah, we've got to do it. I was thinking, I'm like, yeah, do you make it part 3? I'm like, nah, I'm with you. I'm like, I don't think you do that, because then I think you don't want to do too much symbiote stuff. But yeah, if you make it the epilogue of this, and I think he's the perfect. And then obviously you're going to get a lot more Wraith too. She'll probably be a much more integral character throughout that whole story.
100%. And as well, I mean, it's very clear part 3 is the Green Goblin.
Yeah, we're going there, baby.
It's so clear. And it's like, you've been building to this, because Norman has been a part of each and every game, but now he's at a point of pure fucking anger, So it's like, I mean, I'm hoping the Green Goblin's going to come and start punishing. He's going to put people through hell, I hope. Just
pumpkin bombing everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Just before then, we get back onto the main story and into the main characters and that kind of thing. Apart from the flame stuff that we just discussed, I'd love to ask, what was like your favorite side quest, even if it was a one-off mission thing, aside from that one? Like what? Because we won't be able to talk about all of them, but I thought the side content in this game was amazing. I thought they really stepped it up. And there's some great examples, but
besides doing like a hardcore, like finish this, that, I forget the guy's name, the guy with the pigeons.
I was just gonna say,
when you do his mission, and because it's the only one that kind of cues that music, man. And when he's talking to him, and he's just kind of like, "Yeah, you all right, man?" He doesn't answer. He's like, "I think my birds will like going home," and blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, something's happening. This thing's going down. Go ahead and let it. And then that song starts playing, and off the top of my head, I can't remember what it was, but it was fantastic. And you go all the way back to Peter Parker's house. And then you go back, and I think he was dying of a heart attack or something. I'm like, dude, that was so emotionally wrecked me. Like, I don't know, because I don't know, because I was talking to my buddy. We played it so different timing. Like, I was so late in the game when I did it, and he did it so early. So it's just, since I did it so late, to me, it was like, I thought it was an ending mission. I'm like, oh man, that hits the feel goods. But I guess you can really tackle it whenever. But I'd have to say that one stands out as one of the best, if not the best, side mission.
That's powerful. And it's so, there's no fighting to it. There's nothing complicated about it, but it's just sort of, it just reminds you.
Recapping it from the first one, right? His buddy from the first game.
And it reminds you of like Spider-Man being Spider-Man, which is the friend in A-Road Spider-Man. And that doesn't always just mean fighting crime. It also just means like helping people out or being there for people. My partner was playing the game, and that's the last mission she did. And what was really interesting to me was she said to me, it's like, oh, that mission with the pigeons is so sad, isn't it? I was like, yeah, isn't it? And then she goes, and he took his own life, I take it. And I went, what? I was like, no, I assumed it was a heart attack. And she was like, well, he knew he was going. So she took it as like, and he said, I'm going on a new adventure. She took it as he ended his life on his own terms. And it's the first time I've heard someone else say that. And I'm like, I don't know if that's what it is, but there's also no evidence to say it's absolutely not that. And
I thought maybe he knew he was terminal or something, and
that's what I thought too. But... Now, look there's probably multiple. Either way, he knew he was going right. And it's really beautiful the way he says it and tells Peter how he's going on a new adventure, and it's Eric, was that the one for you as well, or have you got another one you wanted to shout out?
No, that was actually the one that popped in my head, because it is so. It's the complete other end of the spectrum. The flame it's dark, it's miserable, it's gritty, it's almost like something from the Arkham games, but then you have this beautiful story that, yes, like this is another aspect of Spider-Man. He's just helping people and stuff like that. And even something like helping the birds. Because I think you as well, Chris, mentioned about, oh, thank God we don't have to collect all those pigeons again like we had to do in the first game.
Right. And then they referenced that whole mission, right?
Yeah.
In the best way possible, though.
Yeah, it was so good. That's such a good one. I did have in my head, though, like my least favorite side quest.
Oh?
Yeah.
Oh, but throw it out there while we're here. Throw it out there.
It's one that's, there's one where, again, you have to do it all across the map, just because those enemies were just, to me, the most annoying to fight. And it's towards the end of the game.
Is it the nests?
Yeah, all the nests. I can hate it doing them. They're such a pain in the arse.
There's, if I'm telling you the truth, at time of recording, there is one nest I haven't done. I've done all the other ones, and there's one I haven't done, and it's just pissed me off so many times.
Is the nest? Is that's a symbiote nest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one I haven't done, and I'm like, and I'm wondering as well, when you clear them all, is it worth it? Like, is there something good out of it, or because the only reason I went
to get a suit out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. That's I don't really mind about that.
And the EMF things, they were fine.
The other side quest that stands out to me and actually blew my mind when I did it. It's quite simple how it's done, but Haley, when you are Miles,
the tagging one,
and you go to sort out some graffiti problem, and Haley comes over and she tells you what happened, and it switches perspective to her, but also how she hears the world and how she sees the world. And from a gameplay standpoint, it's not all that exciting. The shaking the controller and spraying, that's obviously not more exciting than swinging around as Spider-Man or using the web wings or anything like that. But just conceptually, the fact that they put that in there, I thought was just brilliant. And it made Haley a more pivotal character to me, that they put her, you got to control her for that moment and see the world as she sees it, or for lack of better term, hear the world as she doesn't hear it. I was really, really impressed by that quest. But yeah, she's getting really friendly with Miles in this game. Let's talk about Mr. Miles Morales. How'd you guys find Miles and his journey in this game? We might spend a bit of time on this one. Craig, I'll come to you first.
Okay. I thought Miles is probably my favorite character in this game. Like,
wow.
Peter Parker is awesome, and I know, like, Peter Parker is my end all be all Spider-Man, but the way they did Miles Morales, and especially because I was talking to my brother too, with the momentum that he has coming off of like Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, like the way they've done Miles Morales in both of these mediums is just fantastic. In this particular version, man, because like how you're bringing up Haley, it was really cool that there was a lot of storyline that's Miles specific, as well as there's other storylines for Peter specific, but like that's one of the things that just like, man, Miles has a whole separate life from what Peter Parker does, right? The average Peter Parker that we know. So it was really cool to see him get older. It was really cool to see him having this group of friends that kind of all know his identity and all kind of like help him out. It was really cool to see how they made his powers definitely feel I guess the same in terms of like the gadgets, but unique in terms of the powers that him and Peter had separately. I love one of the best main missions. That was another one too. The side ones is when you start doing all the Prowler, all the Uncle Aaron side missions that he had just for him going to figure out all these things, and you get this backstory from his uncle the whole time. So Miles for me was cool to watch him. Once Peter gets the Venom and stuff, it was watching this guy going like, cool, I got my mentor. Now I'm getting the cold shoulder. Now I've got to help him get out of this. So I thought his arc for me was more of the funner one to acknowledge than the classic Peter turn bad, come back to good. It was cool to see Miles being the anchor, the emotional anchor, and then everything we get to see with him and Lee and how that whole conversation comes to kind of a climactic ending of being like, I'll never forgive you, but let's put it behind us. I mean, Miles for me, I thought was the best arc of the entire game. I think it beats out the Venom stuff for me. So hands down for me, I would do another Miles Morales solo game.
I watched we're watching the Spider-Man movies again, just for because we're in like Spider-Man mode at the moment. And I was watching Spider-Man 2 last night, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, which is just an incredible movie. And there's a whole scene in it where Aunt May is talking to Peter about how, sometimes to do what's right, you need to be steady and give up your dreams and that kind of thing. And as soon as she said that, I was like, that's the journey that Miles is on in this game. Miles is on that journey of like, he gets to a point where he has to put aside what he wants, which is revenge. And I fucking love that scene where he says to Martin Lee, it's like, I will never forgive you. Like, I'll never forgive you, but I can't keep hating you.
Yeah, dude, I was
we
like,
just
I'm
got
getting goosebumps thinking about it.
That is just, to me, that is fucking Spider-Man, and Miles embodied that, and also Najee, the actor.
Yeah, the voice acting was fantastic.
Is incredible in this game, and now I think him and Yuri both deserve a nomination for best performance this year.
Oh yeah,
I
because
think
him as Venom was him as the Venom Spider-Man was like I was like, ooh, that's good stuff. But
yeah. But
Miles, baby.
and I think a lot of people will look at Yuri because his arc is a more obvious one, right? Because you can hear the change in tone of voice like immediately, and he gets to play basically two characters. But I would hope people don't miss how good Najee is, because I actually think his performance as Miles all throughout is incredible, and his ability to be like, even like, those bits where he's trying to pull Peter out of it are absolutely fucking incredible. And he's like, and Peter's his hero. You know, he's the kid. And I don't think you can tell this story. This story is not as effective without Miles.
Yeah, for sure. He's like the heart of the story.
In a way, he is. Because it's like, how do you save Spider-Man from the darkness? With Spider-Man. Spider-Man saves Spider-Man. You know, and it has to come from another source. I just think it's amazing. Eric, what did you think of Miles' arc in this game?
I do love both of them. I do love both of their arcs, which is like an incredible thing to do in a game, is because usually there is a favorite, right? For you, Craig, it is Miles, and that makes sense. Miles is so fun to play as. The performance is great. You're actually playing as now the high school Spider-Man. You didn't get that in the first one.
Ah, yeah, good point.
Yeah, you know, you get to play as the high school Spider-Man, trying to juggle and balance all these different things. But somehow, for me, I actually love both of them equally, which is such a rare thing, because usually if you have a game where you're playing as two protagonists, you're always going to prefer one over the other.
Yeah.
And then sometimes if you take the likes of Metal Gear Solid 2, you're kind of stuck with the protagonist you don't really like for a lot longer than the protagonist you do like. But yeah, like he's so fucking fun to play as. And yes, like having that build up, like when Spider-Man, like knowing that Spider-Man is going to get the Venom suit. So then okay, at some point we're gonna fight. Like, and then he gets the suit, and then you're like, oh, we're really gonna have to fight, but they're also dragging this out, and I like that's not instantaneous as well. So even Miles doesn't realize the change. So Miles is a bit confused, but he accepts the mantle as well. There's a point in he goes, okay, Peter's gone. I still have to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, even with all the shit talk that Peter's giving him, he's like, you're never Spider-Man. You'll never be better than me. I'm not trying to. And he's just, he's like, I just want my friend back.
Yeah.
Like, Miles.
And then I think after, and we'll talk about Peter next, but like after Peter gets the suit off, right? And he knows himself, he has a lot of apologies to make, and he's not on good terms with a lot of people. But when he says to Miles, okay, what's the play, coach? And he lets Miles take the lead. I loved it. And I also loved that they used, because one of the mechanics from the Miles Morales game was that Miles could go around and do audio clips, right? He could like take recordings of audio clips to turn them into tracks, and that was sort of showing his interest in music and beat making, right? Which is obviously a big part of this game too, right? There's even a side quest about like where it ends with like a music museum and real musicians, and it's incredible. That's another great side quest. But the fact then that he goes, okay, what if I sample the frequency of the bell to turn that into the weapon to kill the symbiotes? It's like, that's genius. That they took that element of Miles' character and then used it as a weapon against the symbiotes. Like, I was like, that is actually fantastic that they did.
And I love that they're both smart, they're both tech savvy. That was the other cool thing. It wasn't like an Iron Man, over like a Captain America, like, what's the plan, Cap? I mean, these guys are both geniuses on a level. They're both super smart. And it was really cool to see him step up and take charge. I mean, I loved it.
Yeah. But so we mentioned Peter. he goes through some stuff in this game. I'm a big fan, and it definitely comes from growing up in the 90s, right? Because I actually know, and I've listened to like a lot of people's reviews and stuff of this game, and everyone's obviously largely positive, but there's definitely a split for some people on whether they actually like that symbiote storyline at all. So I know of some people where they're like, I love this game, I love Miles, and it's like, I'm never a fan of when Peter goes bad Peter, right? I, however, love that.
Oh yeah, dude, hell yeah.
And I think the way they did it in this game, in particular in one sequence, was so fucking incredible. And that's the when you're playing as Mary Jane in Queens.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
And Peter isn't even awake, actually.
Yeah, that was
And
fantastic.
the symbiote is ripping through people and then tries to kill Mary Jane. And it is terrifying. Not in a, oh, this is now a survival horror game, but certainly in a, I mean, this game has been so kind of universally friendly that I certainly wasn't expecting it to go that hard.
Well, and again, that could have been something they could have used with like Kraven or something like that type of scene, that type of horror. Because dude, that was terrifying when you're Mary Jane trying to talk to him, and he's kind of, and then the thing's yelling at her and she's barely getting by and it's hunting her. It's like something like that. So we know it's doable. Why didn't we do more of it?
Yeah. Eric, what did you think of that sequence?
I think they could have went harder. Put
Right.
blood all over the walls. Why not?
Christ. Okay. Well, you know,
no, they were obviously never going to do that.
There's kids playing this game too, you know.
Yeah, well, they got to learn young, man.
Jesus Christ.
No, but obviously not do that. But I did love it. I did love that they went that route, because I was like, a part of me was a bit like this is October. It is the month of Halloween. Are they going to go a bit scary? And then they did it, and I was like, this is great. And like having it drag out that bit, you know, where Mary Jane is trying to hunt him down, and it looks like to her it's fighting Kraven's men. So clearly it's still Peter working.
Yeah.
And then just the slow build, and then she's like, oh, I can talk to him, that's grand. And then it just, nope, it really backfires. And it's fucking monstrous. And it's like,
yeah, because doesn't she ask Miles to like lock her in there with him? She's like, I'll talk to him. Just me and him. He's like, okay, are you sure?
It's a bad idea, MJ.
She had her stun gun.
I also love, you can see the as it progresses, I think this is the coolest version of Peter's symbiote suit ever. Because there's at a point then you can see the suit is evolving.
Yeah.
And it becomes more and more, like you can see the Venom symbol takes over more and more.
Yeah.
You can see it's kind of moving on the back of his neck. It looks way more alien. It's not just a black Spider-Man suit. Like it starts looking like a real living thing on you. And then when you couple that with Yuri's performance and the things he's saying and how violent he's being, and then doing the surge thing where you push down L3 and R3 and he's just so powerful. And it's like, this thing is a monster. Like this thing is crazy. I loved all of that. Like I think the second act of this game is my favorite part of the entire game, which is while Peter has the symbiote, the whole chase with the lizard. Wow.
Yeah, that's good.
Fucking wow. Even like going up the building, like I was giddy. I was like laughing like a crazy child. And then I actually found it hard to do any side content during that entire bit because I just wanted to see what happens next. And as a result, it's kind of a shame because I was like, oh man, I want the symbiote for longer. It's gone now. You know? But yeah, I think the moment where, like, as I was about to go to bed, I just did the Mary Jane sequence. And it's raining at night. Miles gets taken. You know, like everything's kind of dire. And it goes to the next morning. And there's this deafening silence across the city. And I put the controller down and I went, you guys are fucking geniuses. This feels like an absolute nuclear fallout. This feels like you've just captured this moment. And he's just like, oh, I had a great sleep. There's no music. There's no birds. There's nothing. There's just silence. And you are just like, the fuck just happened? Like,
yeah, he doesn't know what the hell's even going on.
Masterful. I thought it was, I think that is the best part of the game. Absolutely masterful. Personally now. It just hit me that way. But yeah, I suppose another big highlight is that Peter Miles fight, right?
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, before we get 100% off of Peter, is and stick to the voice talent, is the way he was able to do that voice. I would 100% believed it, because there were certain times where he would be like flying around or like zipping around, and he's still talking to himself regularly, but then he has these conversations with like Mary Jane. He's getting a little short, and then he has this conversation with doesn't he talk to Miles's mom? And he's like, I said I'll do it. Like the way he was able to turn from Spider-Man to like symbiote Spider-Man, especially like you were saying, when you see his suit, like you could just see it getting darker and darker the whole time he was wearing it, and it just reflected his attitude. I thought that was great. And then it was just kind of like the yin to yang, where Miles is just trying to help him, and we get to that fight, and then he's still just at this point completely lost, thinking that Miles is trying to take his spot, that Mary Jane is going to leave him, and all this stuff. So I mean, Peter definitely had a fantastic arc with it. Yeah. And the voice talent, I thought it was perfect of how he was like mirroring both sides of that.
Yeah, and I thought they did a great job at like doing the whole like mirroring the symbiote with addiction and him getting further like into it. And like there's great bits where like early on, you know, he's swinging and Harry's ringing, going, "Hey, how are you getting on? How's the suit?" He's like, "Wow, the suit feels great. Don't worry, man. I'm going to get it right back to you as soon as I can. I'm looking for Dr. Connors, whatever." Then later on, you hear from Harry again. He's like, "Yo, Peter, I'm not doing too good. I really need that suit back." And like Peter gets to the point where he's like, does he really need the suit? You know? And he's like,
yeah, his dad's working on something else.
Yeah, like maybe that'll work out. And then he's like, you know, what would be better? You know, a better Harry or a better Spider-Man? You know, like I can do a lot of good with this thing. And he's genuinely thinking about not giving it back at all. Like it just reminded me of like in Lord of the Rings, the way the ring can take someone. That kind of tempt and like turn you against your friends. Like that's to me, that's just like kind of the scariest thing about the symbiote is how it can just bring the darkest aspects of you out.
Well, it was cool too, because when they're in his head, Miles and Lee, and he's like, "Oh, these are all the people that Peter's put in prison," and like the reason he wants to keep the suit on is because he's like, "I can do more with it. I can keep these guys away because if they break out again, I'll be weaker." So like, it wasn't even. I mean, obviously he's clearly addicted, but it was like he feels he can just do so much more good with it, and it was just crazy to like when they were in his head. I thought that was a really powerful scene as well.
Yeah, it was interesting. And I didn't realize, if you look it up, Mr. Negative is one of the characters that results in anti-venom. So they they had this kind of set up really perfectly, where it's like you think they're just making shit up, and then you read it up. Like, as I was like, anti-venom, I personally had never heard of it. Looked it up to see, was it a thing or did they make it up? It's not a thing. It does look like that. And Mr. Negative is the one that creates it. And you're like,
dude, that was another thing. I lost it.
All these ingredients,
the white
suit. What, Eric? What did you think of anti-venom?
Well, I was thinking like because throughout the game, like the start of the game, first act, I was like, "Fucking hell, these Kraven guys are so fucking hard. Like this is ridiculous." You get the Venom suit, and you're like, "That's fantastic, right?" Because when you have the Venom suit, you are stronger. So as a player, you are also getting addicted to having it, as well as Peter getting addicted to having it, because you are stronger, you're better, you're faster, which is like a great way of gameplay of you being able to make the player empathize. You lose it again. The symbiotes are now these fucking weird symbiote monster things that look like Skittles are running around, and they're fucking causing all sorts of issues. And you're like, oh my God, these are so fucking hard. And then you have that brilliant fucking mind-bending shit going through his head with Mr. Negative, and then you're anti-venom and you're fighting all the Skittles symbiotes, and you're like, I'm back to being powerful again without being a dick.
Yeah, I understood why they did it, because and I think it's, you know, I think they knew that they were like, when we like, everyone's gonna be so happy to have these venom powers. As soon as we take them away, the gamers are gonna be kind of pissed. And we're going to have to take him away for a while, because we need Venom to be an actual character in the game as well. We can't just do a Spider-Man 3 on it where he's just at the end. So it's like, you know, because you have to get all 19 inches of Venom.
Oh,
so
yes, sir.
You know, so they had to find a way of like, how can we give Peter back symbiote powers? Because the player's has also built a skill tree around it without just giving the symbiote back to him or something like that. And I thought that by looking into the lore and doing the anti-venom thing was kind of a perfect way of doing it. I do wonder if it means, though, that sticks with him. Like in Spider-Man 3, is Peter still going to have symbiote powers? Or does it die with the hive mind? Or like, I wonder how they're going to carry that forward. But
maybe he'll lose it at the end of the Carnage DLC or something like that. Maybe that's what he has to do to get rid of him or something.
Like, that would be pretty cool, because like you wouldn't miss it as much if you never had it in a game, right?
Right.
If they just gave you a whole new skill tree of something to do. Whereas in this game, obviously, if they never gave it back to you, you would be like, why the fuck did I invest all that time into that skill tree, you know? So, you know, it makes sense. Anything else on like Peter's arc before we move on from him?
That fight though, right? So there's two moments, I think. Again, it's symbiote Spider-Man, where the first time you get it is so good. It's like Spartan Rage, right?
Yeah.
You're just absolutely taking everything down. I was like, fuck yes, this is amazing. A part of me was a bit like, I actually wish I didn't know I was going to get the symbiote suit.
Yeah, what do you know? And before you go any further, apparently, like again, the creative director said he wanted to show nothing. He was kind of made show something. He wanted to do no marketing except for just the name and the release date. He wanted everything to be a surprise. But I suppose you kind of you have to market these things. You know, you put that much money into it, you kind of have to.
It was like a 10-minute trailer though of showing it off. It wasn't like a split scene. It was like, let's watch this whole 10-minute thing of him hunting down the lizard, and he's like, they completely threw that cat out of the bag with him.
They did, yeah.
In the suit. So
they actually showed quite a lot. But I have to say, even after seeing that scene before, it was so much fun to play.
Yeah,
it was so good. But sorry, Eric.
I do wish that was a bit of a surprise, because that would have been just awesome. Because a part of me was a bit like, with the way the momentum and the emotion of the scene going, I was a bit like, if I didn't know I was getting symbiote Spider-Man, a part of me would genuinely think Spider-Man's going to die, and I'd have to play as Spider-Man. So Peter would die, I'd have to play as Miles.
Yeah.
But that moment you go into Spartan Rage was awesome. And then when you're fighting Miles, the music for that sequence is so fucking good.
It's amazing.
It's just such a fucking like battle of the heroes, you know what I mean? It's Revenge of the Sith, you know, Obi-Wan versus Anakin moment, only reversed, because now the mentor is the villain and the Padawan is the
It is the other highlight of the game, I think. It is absolutely incredible. Both performances are amazing. It plays well. It's dark. The music is amazing. And in the end, Peter has to pull it off. Miles helps him, but he ultimately has to actually reject it himself. Which is...
And the dialogue the whole time between them is just great.
Incredible. I was just like, I can't put this down. Like, this is absolutely amazing. But then, of course, the symbiote does leave Peter. And it goes to Harry. Were we ever surprised that Harry... I mean, they kind of showed it in the marketing, I think, that Harry was going to be Venom this time around. But did it surprise anyone, or...
I hated it. Again, this is one of the things that I was like, I wish they would have done it a little differently. Because, I mean, we kind of glossed over it, that's where Peter got the symbiote from, right? He teams up with Harry on a mission or two. Harry's and Harry kind of looked like the...
Agent Venom.
Agent Venom, the Mark Gargan. Oh, no, that's Eddie Brock is Agent Venom. But yeah, he kind of had the shoulder pad look.
Yeah.
And then once he gets it back, I was like... And then he gets all huge. Because I was thinking that... Because once we found out Kraven was terminal, I was hoping Kraven was going to get the Venom at some point, and that's when he gets
genuine theory at one point. Yeah,
because I'm like, why does out of nowhere he just get huge when it's little? I mean, I thought it was a really cool scene when Harry goes to Aunt May's house when they have like the little dinner. I thought that was really cool. I thought we saw him get the Venom suit, but I thought that was going to be the end of it. I was hoping Kraven was going to be the main Venom at some point. I mean, I wasn't mad with it, but
sure,
the fact that Harry ended up being this out of control crazy Venom, I was just like, I don't really buy it, but I guess they have to end it a certain way, how they did with Kraven. I guess this ties that up.
Yeah, but okay,
that's me.
So just a question then, like, do you guys think, like, is Venom Harry? Like, in this game, is Harry Venom, right? Or is the suit using Harry?
I think it's a mix of both, because he's at the point where he calls himself we, right? It's not like I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe it's a little more symbiotic, because I feel like they just mesh, because at the end because he's kind of seeing other things, and he's like, how do we build this new world? And he's hearing the other voice. He's hearing his mom's voice, but it's a symbiote talking to him. And he's like, let me show you. And it's kind of like messing with them, but I mean, he still needs the host, but I think he's just as much in there. I think more clearly more than I think Peter was, because I don't think he went overboard as fast as Peter did.
Yeah. What do you think, Eric?
For that one, I think it's the symbiote for sure. But to ensure that the host doesn't decide to rip him off, it uses his vision to manipulate him. It uses his goal for the better world to manipulate him to ensure that then the host becomes subservient.
So it's like telling him what he wants to hear?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like, I do think there's a comparison we made earlier of like the symbiote being like the ring from Lord of the Rings. This is like a case to me where it's like Venom is, say, Gollum. You know, deep down is Smeagol. And Smeagol is actually an innocent victim of this thing. You know, so like I see Harry as like, because Harry does not actually have these negative ambitions. You know what I mean? But obviously this thing, it needs a host to actually take a shape of some kind. And I think if you had to put it on anyone, its next step was going to be to fuck shit up. I think it was just mad at that point. And I think it wouldn't matter who the host was, but Harry was the one that, you know, he was the one that was looking for something.
Dude, and everyone gets murked after that, dude. Everyone gets torn apart. Earlier, we were talking about let's not see blood. It's like, dude, nobody in that building survived.
Yeah,
so
that was
everybody got cracked in half.
So yeah, what did you guys think of playing as Venom?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought the way they did it, and he was kind of like, wasn't he like invincible? I don't think your life could ever really drop.
Not really,
like every time if you got hit, he would shoot back up. And
I think it was hoping to be a little more Kraven fight. Could you?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the beginning when he's smashing through the building and all that. Yeah. I thought it was great. He felt strong. He felt powerful. His moves were similar but different. So I had a blast playing Venom.
Yeah, like that was because Sandman, like there was so much shit in this game that like just pleasantly surprised me. So Sandman, Cletus Cassidy, Yuri being Wraith, the moment when Peter gets stabbed, and that's how you get the symbiote thing. Playing as Mary Jane was actually good crack in this. It was really good fun. But yeah, like so there's so many points where I was just like, oh, this is amazing. And then getting to play as Venom was just, getting like a little child. And I was like, yes, split that man in half. Eat his head. Fucking fatality.
Yeah.
And it just kept going, and I was just jumping. I was like, oh, what a way to make this guy imposingly dangerous. Fun to play as, but also terrifying because you're like, I have to fight him later. But he was like the Hulk, just charging through, and just nothing could stop him. It was fucking awesome playing as him.
I am in the minority.
Oh, you hated it?
I loved playing as Venom, but I disagreed with playing as Venom. In that, for me, it took away the sense of like, I now wasn't afraid to fight it, strangely enough. And I especially didn't like doing the fight with Kraven because I lost the first time. And I was like, Venom's a pussy. He couldn't even beat Kraven. He couldn't even beat Kraven. Like, versus if that had been, because I had already fought Kraven as Peter, right? Like I'd already had a boss fight with Kraven. I didn't feel like I necessarily needed another one. If Venom had just fucking killed Kraven and it was out of my hands, I think then I would have just been like, oh shit, because Kraven was tough, but Venom just shut up and killed him, and I'm gonna have to fight Venom. Fuck. I think by putting me in a position where I could lose as Venom, I just from a design perspective, I disagree with that choice because suddenly it took the fear out of fighting Venom. However, with saying that, playing as him was fucking fun. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it was fun, but but I'm definitely in the minority there. I know that is like a huge highlight for people was the moment where you get to play as Venom, and I think I think if they just made it that you're invincible, I think then it would just be incredible because then you'd be like, yeah, I'm fucked when I fight this guy.
Yeah, I like playing. I like showing how he was a savage. I like the tower scene. I didn't really care for the Kraven fight either because I thought the same thing. I'm like, we just did that. So I like seeing that when you got it, you're like, all right, let's look at it from his perspective, and he's just this wild thinking. And I'm like, oh, this thing's insane. I don't think we needed that fight scene at all, and it would have been cooler to see it in a cinematic, him just beating the shit out of him, and then eating him.
I do. I like how he killed Kraven, and I also like that Kraven accepted his death and was just like, finally, one worthy of killing me kind of thing. And but yeah, when he just like ripped his fucking head off, it's like, wow.
Oh, yeah, because I think I read somewhere, maybe I'm wrong, maybe this is only a certain version, or maybe this is something made up, but Venom, because I think in the movie with Tom Hardy, Venom eats people's heads as well, doesn't he?
Ah, yeah, Venom's a good fan of eating people, yeah.
Yeah, because apparently the symbiote needs a particular chemical, which can be found not only in the human brain, but can also be found in chocolate. So that's why, as well, Venom wants to eat chocolate in the Tom Hardy movie, because it's also in that. So, but that's one of the reasons why he eats so many heads in the game.
Right. I have to say though, the this version of Venom is refreshing, because I don't like the Tom Hardy Venom, because I think it's overly childish, and I didn't like Topher Grace Venom.
I don't think anyone did.
Right? So it's like, it's been a while, and Venom is like one, if you're a Spider-Man fan, I think Venom is one of your favorite characters, and yet he hasn't been brought to life very well, for a long time. So I do think they did a really good job of going, no, this guy's scary, and you like, don't fuck with him. I think they did a really good job with that, and he was big,
and he was huge,
scary, yeah, massive. He was all 19 inches, like.
From the ground. Like a pendulum.
Was anyone totally thrown though when he grew wings, or what did you think of that?
I feel like that was the biggest letdown of the game. Like, that's when it got kind of like, like, that's, to me, I was just like, okay, because I forget if he gets wings in the comics, but I'm like, if he does, like, you're pulling something that he doesn't need it. Like, he can fly, he can zip around like Spider-Man. So I just thought the wings was just kind of like, all right, we're in the last battle, let's give him kind of a new cool aesthetic, and let's go that way. So I didn't hate the wings, but I didn't think they were necessary, because then it completely just changed him. Now he's like this demon looking Venom instead of just keeping a classic huge Venom look. But it wasn't a deal breaker, but I didn't love him.
I take it was a reference to Null, who is the
right, and I could see
god of the symbiotes. And I'm wondering if they were hinting at, if he continues to evolve, that's what he's going to turn into in Insomniac's version. If it's like, if you don't stop Venom, he's continuing to grow. Now he's getting new features. He's been getting bigger and stronger the whole time. He seems to be able to spread himself now across symbiotes. They all have that weird spiral symbol, which is also related to Null. I feel like they were hinting at, if you don't stop him, he will turn into that. And but you have to know that stuff to get the
I was just going to say, if you don't know that, I mean,
so if you don't know that, it's just a weird, like, what the fuck? He turned into a gargoyle?
Like, even if you don't know the anti-venom, like, the concept served its purpose for the game. If you don't know Null and he gets the wings didn't really do anything for the game. I mean, he could still have gotten anywhere just zipping up or jumping like a Hulk. So I like the idea, but it's just like, it didn't really serve a purpose for the game outside of making him look like a end boss.
Yeah. What did you think, Eric? Did the wings do it for you?
I did like the wings, because when you start to see the red thing sprouting out, I was like, are we getting into some weird Resident Evil territory where he's going to have these giant glowing spores on his back and you have to shoot them with the webs? So when he got the wings and they were like made out of flesh, I was like, oh, that's fucking sick. Because like, is that Harry's back is just split open? Like, something. But yes, like, other than just being this like demonic design and then having a big final battle thing, it doesn't really serve the purpose really for him. But I actually found, because Kris, you were saying that when you're playing as Venom fighting Kraven, you found now Venom less scary.
Yeah.
I actually found Venom less scary the minute he started to spread the symbiotes. I'm going to be, in truth, right? And I'm saying this, and I mean, you've heard nothing but praise this whole discussion, right? I love this game. It's one of my favorite games this year. I think it deserves a nomination for Game of the Year. I think it's absolutely incredible. And of the 3 Insomniac Spider-Man games we have so far, I think it's the best. I think it's absolutely incredible. I think the third act of this game is the weakest.
Definitely.
I think the game starts to lose its steam, it falls off, and Venom, I think Venom is way scarier when he's that enemy is like, I know exactly who you are and I'm going to play with your life. Like he was scarier to me while he was on Peter, and he was just and when he took control of Peter, instead of making Peter do things that Peter wouldn't do, you know, to me that's scarier than the different colored symbiotes everywhere. It's like, I get it, it's video game stuff and we gotta have like a big threat to fight and everything like that, but I don't know, if they had made it more personal, like I'm gonna take MJ from you or something like that, or it's like, I think you could have high stakes in the game without it being like, oh no, the world's in danger.
Hey, but at one point he does take MJ, which was another awesome scene.
He turned her into Scream.
That was such a good moment. Cool.
Again, another one where I lost it. I was just like, dude, these wild. I had that toy as a kid. I was like, there's no way that they're making her scream, which was Scream, right? It's not Shriek. I get them mixed up.
It's Scream.
Scream.
I never heard of Scream, but I was like, I saw Scream and I was like, I'm going to assume this in the comics, but it's fucking awesome.
Well, it's another great moment where Insomniac are like introducing you to, it's like, okay, you might know like the heavy hitters from Spider-Man, but there's lots of characters from the comics that maybe you don't know because you haven't like read deeper into it. So like, it's like, we didn't make this character up, but we've done a new rendition where we've made it Mary Jane.
Yeah, like, I thought it was cool, like how much they showed of the symbiote stuff. Because in the comics, when they get into like the heavy symbiote family, and you meet all of the different ones, like because there's a couple that I can't remember all the names off the top of my head, but she was one of the coolest because she always used her hair instead of like shooting Venom. Yeah, and then the fact that now it's Mary Jane and it fit it perfectly. I was like,
yeah, and
I was like, that's pretty cool.
And she does have like the design has red hair. Like it seems like, it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. I thought as well, the actual voiceover between the two, like the fight is a fight, whatever, it's another boss fight. That's not really what's going on in that scene though. What's really going on is Peter and MJ have serious relationship issues that are finally coming to the surface that need to be discussed. And like when I was playing it, Ash was sitting beside me and she was like, yeah, Peter's a bit of a dick. I was like, yeah, I guess he is actually. Like I mean, he has all the best intentions in the world, but he doesn't, give her much time or anything, and he never, checks in with her, like, how's she feeling about all this and stuff, and he definitely pushes her to one side quite a lot. So it was really interesting that they used the symbiote in various scenes for people to finally have arguments that they had been holding back, and really flesh out their issues. The only thing I kind of wish for this game, I think personally it ends on too happy a note for the story that happened ahead of it, and I don't think Peter and MJ at the end should be in as good a position as they are. I think
a lot of things are said.
Yeah, I think they should be in a position of, we have some shit to iron out and things aren't great.
What are you talking about? They ironed it out to beat the shit out of each other. That's how it works.
Yeah, that's relationships 101.
Yeah, she's got another black eye to explain to the neighbors.
Jesus Christ. Whoa, that's way dark.
I think that's an old Family Guy joke.
Yeah, it might be. But yeah, so that look, that's all. But the Scream moment was really cool and unexpected.
I loved it.
What did you guys think of Harry before he becomes Venom anyway? Like, just bringing Harry back into the story.
I thought that high school flashback scene, I know a lot of people had issues with the bike riding and all that stuff. I'm like, it's fucking sick. It's 5 minutes of the game. Like 5 minutes out of your 40 hours, like I'll ride the bike. And because I mean, there's a way that they're talking the whole time. So it's not like the bike riding aspect sucks. It's like, I want to hear the story. Like I want to know how they're friends. Because in every rendition, when you look at a Harry and a Peter, there's always something a little different between how they know each other, why they know each other. Why is this millionaire going to a public high school that's best friends with this geek in high school? So it's like, it was kind of cool to see this relationship. And once you do the whole flashback scene, I wish there was a couple more of those, the flashback stuff. And it would have been cool to even see things with Miles doing something along those lines. But I thought that high school gymnasium scene was really cool to see their dynamic and see how, like, once upon a time, Peter had a whole different life. He had a best friend that he could always count on. And then you can kind of see that get in the way with him and Miles' relationship. But I enjoyed Harry. And then you move on to the Coney Island scene, which I thought is one of the best scenes, the best really parts of the game. So I thought what they did with Harry was really cool, that they kept the three of them like this really good friendship. And then obviously they introduced the symbiote. But I thought Harry was a welcomed addition for the story they were telling.
Yeah. Eric, what did you
Yeah.
think of Harry?
I really liked I liked Harry for sure, and I liked his kind of progression that for Peter and Miles and Mary Jane that they were kind of getting stronger as the game went on. So like Peter got the symbiote and got stronger. Miles got the new lightning abilities that were more blue. I don't really know why he got them, but he got them
From
because
Mr. Negative,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I think he fused with
had an
his
effect on
powers
him.
crossed with Lee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just kind of
During
got
that
really-
amazing sequence on the docks, which was
yes,
just
it's
absolutely
great
incredible.
sequence of ducks. I thought Miles was just getting a bit emotional and his lightning went blue or something. He went to the dark
Okay,
side.
okay. Yeah, cool. Okay.
And then Mary Jane had her stun gun, and then she kind of upgraded that. But then as they were getting stronger, you had Harry getting weaker the whole time, and you could see him getting
Yes.
sicker, and you can kind of see then how bad he was getting and how much he needed that suit. So which really nicely feeds into Peter being a dick, which was pretty much most of this game was Peter being a dick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I really liked. And actually, when I was looking up the cast, it was very interesting how much most of the actors look like each other.
Oh, their characters?
Yeah, so like the voice
Okay.
actors, the actors and the characters are all even like Norman Osborn, which I thought his performance was fucking brilliant in this. I was
Brilliant.
like, holy shit, this is the first time I'm seeing Norman as a dad.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him move
Yeah.
on. But
Yeah.
it's weird though because they changed his look in the because it's two different looks. If you play the original Spider-Man,
Oh
they have
yeah,
a whole different look, right?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
they-
Oh,
and then
God,
they
we
switched
know.
his ass out. So I like the new one. I mean, I would have completely kind of forgot about it. I like the way he looks now. I think it's a better. I mean, it's kind of more of a Tom Holland kind of look, I guess. But I like this look a little bit better.
You know what, Craig?
Yeah.
I need to give you some credit. You are a brave man. You're the first person I think I've ever heard say on the internet that they like the new look.
I like it. Like the other one has like this fuzzy bed head with like this weird flannel. I was
Right.
I'm like, I dig this one.
Fair
I
enough.
think
Fair
I
enough.
think it's fine.
They
Well,
changed it.
you guys hate him?
I do not like the new look, but it's fine.
I think Mary
It's-
Jane looks beat over Peter.
Yeah, no, the two of them. I'm like, why did you change either of their faces? I thought they
Yeah.
looked totally fine. And I'm not talking like, yeah, give him a haircut if you want, but why did you change the face? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
I'll pull them up again and look at it side by side and give it another good look. But I remember
telling
when
you,
I was
man.
playing this one, and it's been so long since that one, I'm like, it's fine with me.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Now,
cool.
it kind of looks a bit like now it matches young Peter more, right? So
Yeah.
but then again they would have designed young Peter off older Peter because they would have that design done first. But he does look like Tom Holland's face, but on like Corey Taylor's neck. Like he does look like that again. It's a bit strange.
I actually, you mentioned them as well, Craig. The flashback sequences I thought were great. Not just with Harry in the gym, which was brilliant because it was a great way to like build their relationship together, and also look at like, you know, what high school Peter in this universe is like. But there was also one. There's like a side mission you can do, and it tells the story of the first ever cover to the first ever Spider-Man comic, and you do that as a flashback.
Oh yeah, that was dope.
And I said that was really cool. And it actually had me thinking, it's like, all right, if they were to do another, now it's pretty clear based on the end credit scene what they will do with a Miles Morales, like a 2.5 style game, right? Like it's probably going to be this Cindy character who was introduced at the end. But I was like, how
Silk, right?
sick would it be if they did a Peter Parker year one?
That'd be dope.
They do
Actually,
just,
yeah,
like, if they do
that's my
like,
favorite mission.
yeah, if they do like a mini game, like a Miles Morales style game of this version of Peter in his early years to kind of catch, like, to do basically a flashback to this is where our Spider-Man started.
Well, and you'd have more
I think that'd
villains
be
because the
great.
way they're moving into the new one, I mean, we lost a lot of people. There's a lot of
we
villains.
sure
We're
did.
gonna-
We
Moving
lost a
into the
lot of
next
players
game,
on the players on the field, you know.
I'm not sure who they're going to be battling outside of a couple key characters, but yeah, if you do year one, you're going to get a lot of their origin stories too. You know, there might be
Yeah.
how Vulture became the Vulture, or Shocker became the Shocker, things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, it'd
So
be amazing.
that'd be really cool. Because yeah, dude, how many guys did we lose? 5 enemies in this
Well,
game?
yeah, oh yeah. So okay,
6?
how many villains actually died in this game, right? Like
Scorpion
Vulture died, Vulture, Shocker,
Shocker's dead. Now essentially Venom's
Kraven.
gone.
Venom's gone,
Kraven's
Kraven's
dead.
gone. Yeah.
I know we're missing one.
Mr.
wish I-
Negative. He didn't
Yeah.
die, but he
He's
lost his
not
powers.
dead, but he lost his powers. That's
Its
true.
negatives gone.
So I'd be interested to see what they do with Martin Lee going forward, because I feel like he's too important to Insomniac's storyline. Like, he's a key character. He's definitely going to be in part 3, especially if Norman is like the main villain, and he had a lot of beef with Norman. Like, Martin Lee is not out of the story yet. I don't think they've made him a pivotal.
Oh,
character.
he's going to put on a mask and no martial arts to become a vigilante.
Hell yeah!
Oh, just give me a chain. I'll be good.
But what happened to? Does anyone know? Like, I was half expecting at one point that we're going to show the Rhino or something. Like, is the Rhino around? Because he seems like someone Kraven would absolutely go after.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because he's the intro in Miles Morales, right?
That's right.
It's him charging. I kind of forget how they end his thing. I don't remember him dying, but
no, he's definitely not dead. He's definitely not dead.
He does join Roxxon, or the villains of Miles Morales.
He does.
Did they hire him?
Yeah, they give him a red version of his suit, don't they? Or like,
yeah, I don't know how they did that, but they did it.
Yeah,
yeah, because the Rhino was way cool. I love this version of him. So yeah. So I mean, they could probably bring him back. It seemed like he was more of a Miles enemy in this one anyway. So
yeah, I assume he's still around, right? I don't think he's out for the count.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing his name on one of those cells.
What are other villains you guys would like to see in Spider-Man 3 that they haven't done yet? Then
I was thinking maybe if we're gonna do Daredevil, you do a Morbius thing, and you add in Blade, and you do Blade and the Midnight Suns kind of thing would be dope. And that way, and then you can start adding in people like Luke Cage. And then Black Cat could come back. I'm hoping they go in a really, really dark vibe like that.
Hold on a fucking second. We never even talked about the Black Cat mission. Oh my god.
And the nice nod to Doctor Strange they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was another moment. That was such a fucking awesome surprise.
I was like, that's great. There's so many little things in this game where I'm like, dude, they didn't have to do that note, because I'm curious where the stick was coming, whatever she had. And then at the end, it's like, oh, thanks. We just got back from Bombay or whatever. Yeah. Strange. I was like, yes, that is awesome.
I thought as well it was incredibly impressive swinging through those portals. I was saying to Eric that I mean, I was playing it. I was going, all right, I've kind of played this before this year, and that was in Jedi Survivor. There's a whole portal sequence that you get to play, which is amazing. But it was really cool playing it here, and like when you go in and you're in like the Antarctic or something like that, it was like, what? This is wild. And I heard somewhere that the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart team worked on one mission of the game. This is it. This is the one. I was just gonna say,
I kind of had Rift Apart vibes.
Yeah, which is cool because like it's like Insomniac using tools that they've learned from other games.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and it worked brilliantly. And it was cool that you could start seeing. I mean, obviously we talked about him fighting with Wraith. It was cool seeing Miles fight with Black Cat. Yeah, and them doing like these team up moves and stuff like that. So
really cool.
I'm hoping they do more of that in number 3, like him teaming up with a Blade or a Black Cat again, or Daredevil. Like I want to see more of these team ups that aren't just and again, it was awesome when the 2 Spider-Man met up in the city and they would start beating the shit out of each other and then to give each other a hug. So I thought that was a really clever idea, and it'd be cool to see more kind of crossover. It'd be because that's a good way to introduce other characters.
100%.
Or the heroes, I should say.
Yeah, it does make you that like they've really fully established that Doctor Strange and definitely the other Avengers exist, because there's Avengers Tower and stuff.
Yeah,
it does make you question. This is again why I kind of don't like the whole alien symbiote takeover
infestation thing, right?
Yeah, it raised the point of where's Iron Man or Captain America or Thor or Hulk or Black Widow or Daredevil. Or
well, and again, how much time took place during that, though? Was that just a night? Did all this happen in a night? Or was there 2 or 3 days? I'm trying to remember the time frame, like, because I'm with you. Like, yeah, where are the other guys? But if it happened in, like, a night, maybe.
Right, yeah, because if they're off doing their own thing, fair enough. But if it's, like, over the course of, like, oh, this is supposed to be, which it's not, I think if you play it, if it was, though, over the course of months, you'd be like, no, come on. Come on, lads.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah. Eric, any other villains you'd love to see in Spider-Man 3?
Spider-Man 3, right. So we got Goblin coming up. We got, Jesus, who's that? Well, Chameleon.
Yeah,
if he's not in the DLC, bring him into the next game. That'd be
with his own side quest, I think.
With his own side quest. Yeah, for sure.
He'd be like a Mysterio in this game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to doing his missions.
I would like to see, I don't want them to do the same thing they did with Sandman. I would like to see Hydro Man in some way. I think you could do really cool stuff with like the water graphics and stuff. Like I think on a technical standpoint, Hydro Man would be. There was actually a really cool Hydro Man reference in Coney Island. A lot of the rides are named after Spider-Man villains and characters, like Big Wheel, for example. But the first game you do, the little water thing, is called the Hydro Bench, and Hydro
cool.
Man's name is Morris Bench. I was like,
sick. I didn't even
brilliant.
catch that.
Yeah, I was like, brilliant. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's hard to think because they already did so many villains. They've already done Electro. I mean, the Sinister Six is pretty much has been all done. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around like who would be a marquee villain, not just like a random obscure, one-off.
Yeah.
Like
I'm trying to think the other villains now because they have done most of them at this point. Most of the big ones.
Most of the big ones, yeah.
What's that guy's name? Remember in the show, the cartoon, it was Alistair Slide or Alistair Slice.
Oh, Smite,
something like that. Alistair Smite. He might be a weird tech kind of player.
Especially because he makes the Spider Slayers,
right?
Which are the big robots. You could definitely do boss fights with them, right?
Is that the guy in the wheelchair?
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then his son gets like, he transforms his son and he gets those crazy things on his back. That'd be kind of cool.
You could definitely do him. I think
fucking Man Spider.
Oh,
not a villain, but fucking Man Spider.
Somebody inject him with something, and
could that be?
And imagine playing that version.
I was just about to say, could that be the new Peter Parker abilities in the next one? Is like they do
I
a
feel
Man
like
Spider
Miles fighting him.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
That'd be like a side mission to transform him back.
Terrifying,
dude.
Yeah.
Or because they keep doing new origin things, they could actually do a different character. So if let's say they had Alistair Smite, and he injected his son with something that turned his son into Man Spider.
Dude, I'd be
that would be sick. Yeah, like do a new version of it. That'd be deadly.
Yeah, and Morbius would.
I was gonna say,
cool.
It fits in with the Morbius stuff.
Yeah,
it would fit in with Blade stuff. That'd be Luke Cage showing up.
And obviously, because they do DLCs for each of these, right? Obviously, if they were going to do a DLC as sort of the epilogue to Spider-Man 3 after the story that you've just had, I think that it's very fitting then that you would do the Hobgoblin. Because you can't put Hobgoblin in the same game as Green Goblin. Green Goblin has to like have had his space first. Someone then has to like take up the mantle, basically. I don't think you can have the two side by side. That doesn't really
unless it's like Green Goblin when he takes over the city or something like that with like, I don't know, goblin infestation, everyone becomes little hobgoblins or something.
Stop now. Don't even give them that idea. Are they gonna like do you think they're gonna like swap out the Gwen Stacy thing and he's gonna throw Mary Jane off a bridge?
That'd be a bold bold statement to do.
They might throw Haley off the bridge. You will never hear it coming.
Jesus Christ. Fucking hell, that's dark.
Oh man, yeah, that's great though.
Yeah, that's bad. Sorry guys, that's bad.
Obviously as well, Dr. Octopus is going to play a big role in it again, because again in the end credits he's there saying he's writing the final chapter, obviously hinting at he plays a part in the last game. I have a feeling, right, because the first game was all about Otto was losing the ability to use his body, and that's why he was making the robot arms, right? He had this like neural disease or something, and it was like he was going to lose the use of his arms. I feel like his body is degrading further and further. I think they are going to work towards. So if anyone knows the Superior Spider-Man story, do you know this story, Craig?
Oh yeah, I love that. That's my favorite story of Spider-Man.
It's fucked.
Where they switch bodies.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
I think not that they're necessarily going to do it, but that's going to be Otto's objective. I think he's going to want...
I didn't even think of that. That'd be fantastic.
I think he's working towards... He's like, my body is failing me, but if I had Spider-Man's body and my mind...
Dude, I love Superior Spider-Man.
I think that's what they're working towards.
That'd be cool. Or what about if they do... Because Scarlet Spider is a clone of Peter, right? So it'd be cool if he starts making clone bodies... of people.
They could bring in the Jackal then, who's the
villain.
Miles Warren, he's another villain who makes clones, and they could do the clone saga.
Oh yeah, or you could add in, you could bring in Will-O-Wisp. You could do all kinds of shit.
Shut the fuck.
Are we writing this game right now?
We're getting so fucking dirty right now.
Dude. Okay. And what was Jay Jonah's son when he starts turning into the werewolf?
John Jameson could turn into fucking Man-Wolf.
The Man-Wolf, yeah, you could do that.
Fucking shit.
Let's bring it back, baby.
I'm so excited for this game.
That dark theme.
I do know that at the end of the
go on, as you are.
At the end of the collecting all the robot spiders.
Yeah. There was a thing there, right? That's right.
Right. They're making reference to the multiverse, the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
So I mean that's probably going to come into the third one.
Possibly.
Which is where
Madam Web.
where they probably didn't have Madam Web, and they probably then have the fucking. Isn't there a villain?
Beyonder.
Oh, I don't know Beyonder,
no,
but isn't there a villain that hunts down and kills Spider-Man?
Morlun.
Laurelan.
There's actually loads of villains they could still do. Like, it always seems like they've run out, but there's definitely more like, to be honest with you.
Well, it's really helpful when you have two guys who just
but to be honest as well, I never heard of Mr. Negative until I played the first one, and then looked him up and realized, oh, this is a really cool character. So there's definitely more modern Spider-Man villains that, you know, I wouldn't be aware of, that I'm sure they could pull from. We're coming towards the end of the episode, right? Is there, first of all, before I get like final thoughts from you guys, is there anything that we haven't brought up that you specifically wanted to talk about or touch on, before we get to any final thoughts?
No, my biggest thing was this: we kind of glossed over Harry in the beginning, so I'm glad we backtracked a little bit and kind of showed that off. I don't think there's any big beats that we missed at all.
Right.
Side missions, combat, the team ups. I think we hit a lot of it. For the majority of it.
You happy enough, Eric, to go? Will we head towards final thoughts, or was there something that you wanted to touch on?
Just one tiny little comment.
Oh,
which
I
is
do
like,
have one too.
Okay, cool.
You're getting towards the game, like the whole game. You're getting all these abilities and all these costumes, right? You do side missions to get particular costumes. You level up to get costumes. You get all the different like city tokens, advanced tokens to buy all the new upgrades and stuff like that. So by the end of the game, you have Spider-Man. He's got his new suit of anti-venom. And it's like, that looks cool. Okay. And then Miles comes along with his new suit. And I'm just sitting there thinking, the fuck is that thing? The fuck is wrong with his original costume? The fuck is that?
You didn't like Miles' cool, trippy kind of Adidas style costume? No,
I really did not. I thought the shoes.
I got so much shit.
Yeah, wow.
I thought his shoes were a downgrade. Those shoes are not made for combat.
Fair enough. I was like, it's not my favorite Miles costume. I'll definitely pick another one, but cool. Whatever. It's fine, you know. Did you see his Wolverine one?
Yes, that's cool. Awesome.
I thought that was
Black Panther one. The Black Panther one was awesome.
Black Panther one's great. And if you
did you guys collect all the suits?
Yeah.
I didn't get all of my most of them.
Okay, because that Carnage suit he had was dope.
Yeah.
And if you go to the Wakanda embassy as Miles with the Black Panther suit, he does the Wakanda Forever salute.
Oh, I gotta do that.
Yeah. Which is just like a really nice. It's like, and there's loads of little, like, people are pointing out now, like, there's loads of actual, like, the map is riddled with Easter eggs and nods all over the place, including the Fisk Tower from the first game. If you go to the top of that tower now, it has the Fantastic Four symbol half painted on it. They haven't finished it yet, but basically they bought that and turned it into the Baxter building.
I was gonna say
that's
so
nice.
sick.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's stuff like that all over the place. Like, these guys like clearly love this stuff. You know what I mean? It's so cool. You said you had another thing to point out.
Oh
Craig?
no, that was actually the same thing. I was gonna ask, how'd you like the collectibles and the suits and the kind of little RPG? But yeah, that was pretty much what I was gonna bring up. Because I thought the suits was half the fun. I love that you could do the four colors and all that stuff. So one of the things, what abilities did you guys go for first? Because I didn't realize that if you did traversal, it would start putting those. Because I thought I was cool slinging around, seeing a blue light and trying to go get the chest. And I'm like, oh, cool, I'm finding so many. And then I'm like, oh, you can actually unlock an ability that shows them on your map. I wish I would have got that in the beginning, so I could have got a shitload more tokens and all that.
Yeah, I get you. I
would after damage, I think, first and all that.
Yeah, I totally souped up their individual trees first, and then I did their shared tree last. And I was like, oh, and yeah, with the gadgets and stuff, I actually forgot to like do that up for a long time, and then eventually I like went in on the menu and went, oh fuck, I didn't realize I actually have points I could spend here. I should go and spend them, you know. But I definitely, like, in terms of the skill trees, once I had Peter's symbiote suit, I like
decked it out.
I decked that out completely. Yeah.
I was actually pretty balanced. I'm always quite balanced with this stuff. So like, if I was playing as Miles, I only did up Miles, and if I ran out of skill points, I would then go on to like then traversal, and then with Peter, I then do all of Peter's. And then do traversal, so it's kind of balanced throughout the whole game. So, but I think it was towards the end of the game when I got that thing where it's like, here's all the chests, and I was like, holy fuck, there's so many.
There's so many. Oh my god, yeah. Do you know what? My favorite suit is in the game. I'm so glad it made a comeback. It was like my favorite thing from Miles Morales, and it's back, baby. the backpack with the Spider-Man cat in the backpack. I love it. It's so much fun especially if you're just doing like little side stuff as Miles. It's so fun to just do that. And every so often, like during cutscenes, the cat will just pop out and do a little animation. And like whoever animated that cat is fucking awesome. Like that is so cool.
That's the same cat from Stray.
Is it?
No.
Shut the fuck. I would believe you. This is the prequel to Stray.
Cats are in right now.
Okay, so let's get our final thoughts then on the game. Your final thing you want to say on it, and then close it out. So, Craig, I'll come to you first. Final thoughts on Spider-Man 2.
I would say that it's a must-play PS5 game. Even if you shouldn't play it without playing the original ones. But even if you don't, there's enough to pick up and get a background of what's going on. I think the game, it's not necessarily, I would say, a standalone, but it did a good job to where, like, again, I haven't played the other ones in a couple years. I picked it up. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm right back where I need to be. It's beautiful on a technical aspect. It's fantastic if you're a comic book fan, and it's just some of the best combat. I feel like a good game like Arkham. This thing for me checked a lot of boxes. I know some people said it was a buggy when they first got it. I didn't have any issues with it. So I would just say if you're on the fence about it, which I don't know why you would be, it's a definite pick up and play for sure.
Yeah. Eric, final thoughts on Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, same things you're saying. If you are on the fence, why?
Yeah.
And why did you listen to this entire spoiler cast?
Like, absolutely, if you haven't picked it up to play it, do pick it up to play, because it is incredible. I think absolutely if it doesn't get nominated for Game of the Year, the fuck is wrong with those people, right? This is absolutely Game of the Year quality. Like the fucking speeding, the speed loads of like just swinging through and just seamlessly loading up the whole city is like fucking nuts. Traversal, combat, the story, the performances, and the music is just fucking AAA quality. With then the fun gameplay as well. This is like a perfect Spider-Man story. Because yet again, it's telling you what is actually important about Spider-Man, which is protecting your neighborhood. You know what I mean? As we mentioned, that mission with your man, he's got the birds and stuff. Howard is his name. Howard the birds. We got there. So yeah, this is absolutely play this game. And if you have played the game, go play the game again.
Excellent. So for me, just to get out of the way first, so despite what I think is a weaker third act, right? And kind of a lackluster ending, personally, this game is fucking incredible. Some of the best set pieces I've seen in a game in a long fucking time. Some of the most fun I've had. Actually, the most fun I've had playing a game all year. The combat is incredible. The web wings are absolutely, like, just the minute they were at it, I was like, how did I ever think something could be more fun than swinging around New York? It's flying around New York.
That's how you do wings.
That is so good. So traversal, graphics, the performances, the music. This is a fucking top tier AAA game. I think it's the best Spider-Man game that we've had so far. And all I could say is I cannot wait for Spider-Man 3. So those were our spoiler-filled thoughts on Spider-Man 2. I do look forward to DLC in the future, and when they do that, we'll have to get together again to talk about that stuff too,
Definitely.
and see how much of the stuff that we want to happen happens, and all that kind of stuff. But guys, if you enjoy this discussion, please do give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're watching YouTube to both channels, The Brothers Take and Last Call Gaming. Make sure you're following both channels. Both podcasts tend to release their episodes weekly, so do follow that. And please share your own thoughts on Spider-Man 2, all your highlights, everything you liked, even stuff you disliked. Share them down in the comments. We would love to have a further discussion on this game. There's loads of, it's a long game. There's loads of stuff that we definitely didn't bring up. So please feel free to bring it up. Craig, anything you want to shout out in particular? We will put all the socials and all that stuff in the description, but anything you wanted to shout out in particular?
Just that I wanted to show you that I have a Spider-Man signed by Stan Lee comic book.
What the
pretty cool.
What the fuck?
what are you doing?
And I have 2 more. Once we're done, I'll show you the other 2.
Oh my god. Okay, well, for that, you have to subscribe and follow Mr. Craig Perales, Last Call Gaming. He's got the shit, man. He's got the shit. And you know when Spider-Man 3 comes, we'll all be nerding about that too. Thanks very much, everyone, for checking out this week's episode. We'll be back to talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.